Hey guys, today I'm going to be going over my top 10 suggestions for Aperiophobia. This is a list of things that I think should be added or that I believe would freshen up the game a bit. So without further ado, let's start with number 10. Ambience and sound design is a big part of the backrooms as a whole. It's something you hear a lot of with anything related to the backrooms. One main example of this is those Backrooms Dreamcore playlists you see on YouTube. And it's something I think Aperiophobia needs a lot more of. It would really add a lot to the atmosphere of the game. For example, the ambience in level 13 is one of the best, if not the best, in terms of how the level feels when you play it. I believe Ambient is the one behind the sound design of this level, so huge props to him. Now, let's move on to number 9. Cosmetics are a big part of many games. They give players the choice to switch things up. It'd be a great way to increase replayability, as it would give a reason for players to keep grinding the game. And I think a great way to earn these cosmetics would be through badges. It would reward players who obtain certain badges with a new camera or flashlight skin. For example, let's say someone beats Nightmare Mode and receives the Daymare badge. They could be rewarded with a red camera skin with a cool skull pattern. Something like that I think could definitely fit nicely in the game, but more about badges later. Level 18, or Level Memories, is a level I have suggested before in a previous video. Still, it's something that I think would be a great addition to the game. In the backrooms, this level is depicted differently for every wanderer. It's presented as the earliest memories the wanderer can remember. It's not completely devoid of entities, but the ones that do appear don't cause any harm. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to read more about it, but that's just a quick summary of what it's like. I think this would be perfect for Aperiophobia since, although it couldn't look different for every player, it could be used as a way to show what our character's earliest memories are. It would help figure out some things we don't know about our character, and it'd be a great way to reveal some lore details. These memories that we explore could be happy or traumatic, depending on how deep we explore. Anyways, let's move on to number 7. 8-bit minigames in Aperiophobia is something I think could really freshen up the game. Similar to the ones you see in Five Nights at Freddy's, these could appear in between levels as uncommon occurrences. It would eliminate the repetitiveness of going from level to level, and these minigames could give hints or details about the lore of the game, similar to how it functions in Five Nights at Freddy's. It doesn't necessarily have to be lore related, but I think that'd be a great way to introduce some things we don't know. Like I said, these would be uncommon to find and would also be limited to single player, since I think it'd be hard to implement into multiplayer. Anyways, let's move on to number 6. Depending if my tier list video came out already, you'll see that I put cave systems in F tier. I genuinely believe this level should be removed from the game, or at least revamped. Like, there's nothing about a cave that feels anything like the backrooms. I understand it was probably added as a reference to level 8 in the backrooms wiki, but I mean, out of all the levels in the game so far, this one just feels the most out of place. It just looks like it was made in Roblox Terrain Editor. And don't even get me started on the Skinwalker. I understand it's meant to look like a Roblox avatar, since it steals your avatar, but it could at least look a little more detailed than this. And at number 5, we have collectibles. Collectibles are such a cool and neat thing I see in games. They're really fun, and I think they'd be a great addition to Aperiophobia. Of course, they wouldn't give you any sort of advantage, but instead, they could act as little trophies. Something you can view while in-game or in the lobby. FNAF Security Breach is probably the main inspiration for this suggestion. I love how you can collect little plushies or action figures of the animatronics, and I think for a game like Aperiophobia, this would be a really fun addition. Like, just imagine finding a Howler action figure or a Tiny Smiler plushie somewhere in a level. But in all seriousness, I hope something like this does get added to the game. Let's move on to number 4. Adding more obtainable badges is a great way to keep people playing the game. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, they give players a reason to keep playing the game even after beating it. And recently, it seems like they have been adding more badges, which I think is great. Giving rewards to those who earn these badges would give players another reason to grind for them. Like previously stated, item skins such as cosmetics for cameras or flashlights could work well as these rewards. Here's some ideas for badges I think could be added. Completing Chapter 1. Surviving or dying from certain entities. Getting killed by every entity at least once. Beating the game in less than a certain amount of time. And lastly, finding the exit the most in a completed multiplayer run. The inspiration I got for this suggestion comes from Nico's Nextbots, and I think it'd be really cool to see something similar added to Aperiophobia. Custom private servers act as a sandbox version of the main game. For example, in Nico's Nextbots private servers, you can load any map, any game mode, and any Nextbot entity into your game. How I think it could work for Aperiophobia is custom game modes. A hide and seek mode where you or your friends can become the entities while the team of wanderers try to hide could be something that I think a lot of people would enjoy. Or maybe even an infection mode where one player is an entity, and if you get caught, you turn into an entity as well, and the game goes on until there's only one wanderer left. It separates the main game from the less serious game modes. Another game mode that I think could be added is free roam. Free roam would allow you to explore levels without the worry of an entity chasing after you. Of course, it'd have to be a level you already completed. But if I'm being honest, out of all the suggestions on this list, this is definitely the least likely to get added. Nonetheless, I think it could be something nice and refreshing for the game. These last two suggestions come from you guys that I think are worth sharing. Angry Bagula suggests they should add a diary of levels and entities. I really like the suggestion a lot because it could act like some sort of way of our character documenting the entities we encounter and the levels we experience. It shouldn't reveal too much about the entities or levels, but only what our character thinks of them. So I think this is a really good suggestion. And the last suggestion of the video comes from Dove1, who suggests that they should add lost VHS tapes scattered around levels for us to find. You can pause the video if you'd like to read the post, but basically, it would act as a way to discover the timeline or story of the game. By putting these said VHS tapes in order, it could reveal some things we didn't know before about the lore. This is a similar mechanic to the tape recordings you can find in Bendy and the Ink Machine, where they reveal other characters' personalities, problems, and the story overall. Another great suggestion. Huge shout out to Bagula and Dove1 for these creative suggestions. But with that being said, that's the end of today's video. If you enjoyed it, consider subscribing. I had a lot of fun thinking of suggestions that could improve or refresh the gameplay in the game entirely. Of course, I don't expect most of these to be added to the game, but nonetheless, they're still fun to think about. Anyways, stay tuned for next upload.